Amy Clavin, the project facilitator for Move to Prosper. I hope all of you get to know her tonight or in the coming weeks. She and I met several times, and we talked about what does success mean, what does opportunity mean, what does prosperity mean. And at a lunch, actually downstairs here, we decided, you know what, we will get our friends and our associates together and we will discuss. Amy really liked the idea. My husband, not at all surprised that I wanted to throw a party for Move to Prosper. So, welcome again. How many of you saw, read, or heard about the article in the Columbus Dispatch back in May about Move to Prosper? Can you get just a few? That's great. Amy actually simplified the program in that. She said, participant families will be able to send their kids to higher performing schools, live closer to jobs and grocery stores, and have better access to transportation. Now, when I think about the word prosper, I think those are all top tier priorities. Can I get an agreement in the room? Thank you. All right, well, we have a great established panel of experts, subject matter experts, with Move to Prosper. We have a steering committee. I'm not going to read every slide to you. The steering committee, many of these people are in the room. This is the local steering committee. Amy actually has a national steering committee as well. There's a project team. A special thanks to everybody that's on these slides, and especially on this one too, Amy, who was our project facilitator. We have volunteers. Many of these people are in the room today. I hope you get to meet them. Most of them are in the room. A great number of sponsors. Now I'd like to take credit for one of those, and I won't make eye contact with the person that was, but we did have some sponsors during the planning period, and then there are also pilot supporters who have recently gotten on board and really, I guess, put their heart into where this program is going. Don and Nancy Kelly family, Bobby and Missy Weiler family, Bill and Sheila Riet, Plaza Properties, Karen and Michael Jones, United Healthcare, Community Plan, PNC, Barbara Fergus, Jeff and Emily Corzine, and Rosilli Construction. Now, this is an initiative by the Ohio State University, led by City and Regional Planning Program and the College of Social Work and Community Partners. First, talking to you this evening is Dr. Rachel Cleet. She is the Move to Prosper Steering Committee Chair and Professor in the City and Regional Planning section at the Knowlton School of Architecture at The Ohio State University. She is going to tell us about why this initiative is such a community priority. Rachel?
I should balance everything as I talk to you. So I want to thank you, Tiffany, and Matt also for having us do this event and for hosting it tonight. It's amazing. So Amy and I started working on this over a year ago, and I can't believe this room of people right now. I wanted to talk to you tonight, though, about two Columbuses. So what is Taylor, what's it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, where's that? Tale of Two Cities, right? So I'm going to tell you a tale of two cities tonight. So there's one Columbus where, since I've moved here 5 years ago, I've noticed that there's one Columbus that's doing pretty well. And I can give you some signs of how well Columbus is doing. So a few years ago, after this, Columbus was first on Forbes Opportunity List. That's the place you can make your mark. Columbus has been the winner of the U.S. Department of Transportation Smart Cities Program grant, which I'm sure you know. We just became one of 10 communities internationally to win the right to plan for Hyperloop, high-speed transportation, and capacity transportation. We've won national awards for the planning and for the design of the Sierra Mile. We are on the page. I also wanted to say that we are on 2 communities in the Central Ohio area are on the 2017 list of best places to live. We're doing really well in Columbus. one of the top 10 cities for jobs. But you know, there's the other city I was going to tell you about, another city. And that city is second in the nation for income inequality. And we have inequality along the dimensions of income and education. We have residential segregation. Folks who graduated college do not live near those who did not graduate college. And prosperous cities, cities that are prosperous over the long run, tend to have less of that segregation. So this worries me for the future. Someone coming here from out of town, and also I've studied housing and housing policy and the impact of housing of people living in poverty for about 25 years. And so when I see this, I get really worried. The other thing about Columbus, this other city, is that we are 45th in the nation for income mobility. If you are someone who lives in the lower 20% of our income distribution, you're more than your kid. You have only a 5% probability of getting up to the top 20%. So we have this fantastic place that we live that's prospering. And then we have some things that are not so good. You know, the high costs, I remember moving here. I moved here from Seattle, and this was really much more in Seattle's pretty hot market. I could buy, my house here is like 1,000 square feet larger than my house in Seattle. It's amazing. But even here, in this relatively more affordable market, we have people who can't afford housing. If you earn $12 an hour and you work 40 hours a week and you're a single person raising a family, half of your income goes to pay the average rent. That means you have $1,000 to do everything else. So, you know, a solution. What's a solution that we already have? Solution we already have is that person should get a housing voucher, right? Housing choice voucher. They would pay 30% of their income for rent. They could take it in the private market. And that's assuming, of course, they can use it to actually rent the place up. But there's a problem with that. 3/4 of people in the United States who qualify for federal housing assistance do not get it because we do not provide the resources for it as a nation. We have not made it a priority. And we have other problems that are evident in terms of housing for folks who don't make a lot of money. There were 18,000 evictions filed last year in Franklin County. 10,000 of them were served. That's extraordinary. That's an extraordinary amount of residential instability. And that kind of instability affects people's lives. There's a lot of stress with that residential instability. Kids don't do as well in school with residential instability. So if we can improve residential instability, we can improve a lot of things. Where you live also influences your life expectancy, or it's associated with it. It's associated with it. We have a 20-year gap in Columbus. There are some places, if you live there, your life expectancy is 61, 65, and there are other places in Columbus region, if you live there, your life expectancy is 81. So this is what public health folks like to call the social determinants of health. So what do we do? And why do I care? I said I studied this stuff for over 20 years. So I grew up in a small town in New England. And my dad was the first in his family to go to college. My grandfather was a shoemaker at a shop that burned down completely in Salem, Massachusetts, during the Great Salem Fire. So my dad, and the reason my dad was able to go to college was because he was a soldier in World War II. He went to school while in the Army in Texas A&M, and then he completed his degree on the GI Bill. Without the GI Bill, he would not have gone on to be an electrical engineer who had 2 patents to his name. Wouldn't have happened. So my siblings and I would not have also gone to college if my father, and then my mother also had me. She was actually the second in our family. So I have this really secure and supportive environment. And from there, after college, I moved into a community called Harbor Point in Boston. Harbor Point is one of the first mixed-income housing developments built in the United States. It competes with Chicago for that honor, Lake Park Place. And somehow I ended up on the resident governing board of this community, where the board was made up of people who were subsidized, people who were not subsidized. You didn't know who was who on the board. But it was a fascinating place to live. I was a young adult. And there were things that were just weird things. So I would, with my friends also from the suburbs, hang out with my grill in my backyard on my little patio, using my space in the way I got to use space. And then outside, all these folks who'd been former public housing residents, still living in subsidized housing, were hanging out in the front stoop. Right? You think people like that? You think there's a real difference in how we use space? The subsidized residents would get really upset because the folks, some people would sun themselves on the lawn, the big quad that was there. And they didn't see why that was different than them hanging out in the front stoop from the yard. So there's something different in our experiences and how we experience place and space. And actually, at Harbor Point, there was a nonprofit that was dedicating to maintaining the stability of the 300 original residents in that place. So we could all learn how to live together and be stable in our housing. So after that, I spent the next 20 years studying mixed-income housing. And ended up in Columbus, and Amy, about a year ago, more than a year ago, Amy calls me and says, Rachel, you would be, am I interested in helping her with a project? And so she takes me out for coffee. I don't know Amy that well at this point. Now I know her. Takes me out for coffee, and she says she's been talking with apartment owners in suburban communities. And these apartment owners said that they're willing to reduce their rents by $100. And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding. Who's gonna do that? They're willing to reduce their rents, and if she could find the rest of it as a city subsidy, and would I help her put together a program that would take advantage of this opportunity? And no, my husband will tell you that I am not risk averse. I say yes. And Amy and I met basically weekly for most of last year, up until this year. We still talk once a week about the program and developing it. So we talked about how to put this together. We walked around OSU talking to people, and talked to people in School of Nursing and social work and extension and human ecology, resources all over that university, diffuse. And so it turns out that social work and city planning, where I am, are going to spearhead this project within OSU with, and Amy once calls it Initiative OSU, and I'm thinking, no, there are all these other people. We saw that funding list. It's not OSU, it's the community. So I want to really see those disparities between the two Columbuses disappear. And I think Move to Prosper is one step to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Sabri Akinyele is a member of the steering committee and the vice president of programs at Catholic Social Services. She is going to share the what of the program.
Good evening. So I was going to talk a little bit about our professional and some of my personal perspective dealing with Move to Prosper, right? From a professional standpoint, Catholic Social Services wanted to be a part of this process. We wanted to be a part of this process because we work with women who are victims of, or survivors, I should say, of domestic violence with children who are looking for stability. We work with the growing Hispanic population, and we recognize that Move to Prosper could be a springboard for them to help them integrate economically, socially, politically in Columbus, and hopefully minimize the impact of generational poverty and low economic neighborhoods before it traps them in their neighborhood, right? The other reason is that this is a pilot study. So we like the idea that we're studying this issue. We're looking to see what works, and that's what we want. What works best for our clients? We're also realizing that in order to do this, we're going to learn something. We're going to learn what works, what doesn't work, and we're going to do it in a way that uses data to tells us what works and what not works. So we support that at Catholic Social Services. And lastly, I think, is that we know that everyone has potential, but not everyone has opportunity. And this is an opportunity for people in Columbus to take advantage of the Move to Prosper program. Next. So what is it? You've heard it, you saw the slides, right? So, but I want to tell you, it's a pilot program where we're only going to work with 10 families initially. We heard it's for single mothers, single head of households, females with children, particularly under the age of 13, children who can go to elementary school with their income level, as you heard Rachel mention, between $20,000 to $30,000 a year. We want them to have access to transportation. So it's a very specific population that we're working with, right? Because we can learn, what can we learn from that population? And we know that it benefits them. Now, Rachel gave a statistic about the disparity in health just by where you live. Now, who would not think to say, well, let me move over there with them. They're living longer. You know, that's what you want to do. So this is an opportunity to give people that choice so that they can move to neighborhoods where there's high opportunity. The other thing that just thinking about this for the children, right? We know that mixed neighborhoods, children benefit from living in mixed income neighborhoods. But children from lower economic status, they benefit even more living in these neighborhoods. So you just kind of think that what this program will do for the families that we have in it, even if it's only for a few years, and research shows that that can make a difference for our families. So this is why Catholic Social Services wants to be a part of it. But I will tell you personally why I think this is an excellent program. It's the fact that we built in a coaching model. We built in a coaching model that, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Go Ravens, right? But I know I have come to become a Buckeye fan. And I admire Urban Myers, right? He's a coach, he's a great one. But you don't see Urban Myers on the field, right? But Urban Myers is there helping his players be great. So we've got a coaching model set up to help the families be great because it's empowering them, right? It's empowering them to take control of their life. And that's the one thing I will tell you. In Baltimore, we try to move people into housing. It doesn't work without the coaching model. It doesn't work without having this built into the program where someone is working alongside of the family. And we're doing it in 4 different areas in terms of the coaching. So the first coaching is housing stability. Get them into a higher opportunity neighborhood. The second part of this is financial knowledge, right? And so the third part of it is, and I think Jeff is going to speak more about this, health and mental health and physical health outcomes that we're looking for. So this is where I talk personally about this. I moved here from Baltimore, as I said. I lived in the neighborhood. I moved here May 2015. They had just had the riots in Baltimore. I lived in the neighborhood where the riots took place. There was a car bomb right down my block, right? My grocery store and our pharmacy were looted and robbed. But I will tell you that why this works and why you move people out is because living in that urban area, which was concentrated poverty, and I lived there to take care of my dad before he died. I had moved out, and then I went back to take care of him. So here I am living in this community, and this is what you're dealing with. And I will tell you, there is toxic stress living in that community. I had a friend of mine who lived maybe about 45 miles outside. And I could tell you physically when I drove out of the city and drove to her house how I felt differently. I felt physically differently for doing that, for moving like that. It does make a difference. I will tell you personally, it does make a difference. I moved here from that neighborhood to Marble Cliff. Does anybody know Marble Cliff? Yeah, I did too. So, and I'm only saying that because it was a nice community. But I will tell you that I was one of maybe one in that community. So that's why the coaching model has to work, because you want to have that support there. And while I did have some support at work and have people I got to know, I am telling you, this is the thing that's going to make this work, because they're going to have the coaching model. So I want to say that to you. If you're like, why are you doing this? Why are you moving here? This is a people-based strategy. We are affecting people's lives. So I got my notes. So I'm moving on to the second page. So I know it. So and I just want to say this too. The other part of this that I like is the education and career strategy that's part of this program that comes with the coaching. The education is to help the mother be able to manage the school and her child's success in school. Just putting a child in the school doesn't mean that they're success if you don't know how to manage that process, right? And then the other thing about it is actually with the woman herself, and hopefully empowering her to look at career choices, the whole workforce development. You got 3 years. If I didn't say that earlier, this is a 3-year program that we are investing in. Right? So that is the other piece that speaks to this program being an opportunity for people. Because you're not only thinking about the child, you're thinking about the mother. Right? And so the other part of this, if you think about it, and I said this, haven't we all, and this is saying, well, people should be able to do this on their own. But let me say this, haven't we all had people help us? Right? I mean, we all had people help us. Some of it comes from our family. They helped us. They were our coach, right? Or we get a financial coach, or we get a career coach, or a fitness coach, maybe, just maybe. But you get those people to help you. They know enough to help you move to, and as we call it, the ladder of success. And this is what we are trying to do with this program. And the last thing I want to say that we've done is that we haven't done it by ourselves. We've looked for key partnerships to help support the families right in there. So I don't want to name them all, but OSU Extension or Mid-Ohio Food Bank or Columbus, Legal Aid, right? Though, and Columbus State College, because we recognize that there's support needed for our families. And my last thing I will say, and I'm leaving at this point, is that the other part that I like about this program is that we're asking for volunteers from the community to help us with our families. And it goes back to the old adage, it takes a village. So January 2018, we're starting. Thank you very much.
25% of you know that I take crazy notes. I have a diary. I write everything down. I'm writing about Sabri tonight in my diary. All right, thank you, Sabri. We now have a brief video. It's a debut video for Move to Prosper. Please enjoy.
Move to Prosper is a new and innovative program to improve life outcomes for children and their mothers by creating opportunities for residential and financial stability through temporary rental support and comprehensive coaching that facilitates successful moves to higher opportunity communities.
It's not just about subsidizing someone's rent, because that won't get them to where they need to be. It's about coaching them, teaching them finances, teaching them all of these other life skills that will help them be successful long term. And that's what's enabled this family to be successful. It's because we did reach out our hand and our wallet, and then we got to a point where we could take back the wallet on the rent and let her stand on her own 2 feet and be proud
them to be in a safe neighborhood. I definitely don't want to have to hear gunshots when I'm sleeping or be afraid to come home late at night, things like that.
Central Ohio residents and families are struggling to sustain employment, and as a result living in poverty. The reason is that often affordable housing for this segment of the population is not located where the jobs are located. They can be miles and miles apart from one another. And in urban Columbus, that might as well be a different world. And so it can take someone 2 hours one way on a bus to get from the neighborhood in which they can afford to live to the job that pays them a wage that would allow them to move to economic self-sufficiency.
Moving to a new neighborhood is a way for families to move towards achieving their dreams. I believe that every time you select a community, you're selecting a space that makes you feel good. You know, when you drive down that street, it makes you, especially if you're a parent, feel like, hey, I can see my kids playing in this particular playground or this park in this near proximity. And so that is an important first step, because we have to first believe that in this space we can grow. My kids can be great. I can feel safe when I sleep at night. And so it is an essential first step, I think, for people moving towards success.
So Move to Prosper is important for our community because we're allowing families the opportunity to be matched with different neighborhoods, to have afforded resources that they would not have had.
I know it's hard to set goals and to work towards them on my own. With a life coach, that would be more possible. Someone to hold me accountable.
As a coach, I coach women who have had trauma in their lives, and as we are working with them through their processes, we again start by listening to their challenges, and we're able to work them through some of those challenges to have a positive outcome.
We were on food stamps. My mom was disabled, and I never realized until I was 45 what difference housing had for me. Just having a safe place to go home every night. And it struck me the second time that I saw this family go through being homeless. It really shook me to my core, to be honest.
From a business perspective, I look at whether or not the services Move to Prosper is bringing are critical to helping our strategic initiatives in the business world. And I can tell you that the labor participation rate is so low that employers are really looking for new labor markets, new citizens who want to become engaged with them, and they're looking for people who live right in their neighborhood. They're looking for folks who can get to work every day. They're looking for folks who are engaged with their community.
She's been employed for almost 4 years now this January at that same position, doing really well. And I've, coached her on that and actually tried to help update her resume to even look at another opportunity with all the growth that's going on in Columbus. We've also helped her with housing. We saw the rents that she was paying and the neighborhood she was paying, and we're very concerned about the kids' safety and the schools.
Forget it. People are buying
place there at the end of the video, but it did not thank Mark Stewart for producing the video, and Chris Blakely, thank you for filming. We were really excited when the next part of our program came together. Brianna Atchison is here with us this evening, and she contacted Move to Prosper through the website looking for housing. Brianna actually meets the profile of a potential program participant, and we are really grateful that she's here and willing to share with us her experience tonight.
Hello, as she stated, my name is Brianna Atchison, and I appreciate being here tonight to be able to tell my story to you all. At 19 years old, well, my name is Brianna. I have 2 young boys, just 5 and 2, Xavier and Melvin. At 19 years old, I found myself homeless. I was forced to stay at the YWCA family shelter, which was an eye-opening experience, something I had never imagined being in a situation like that and having to stay in a room on a cot with other people. It was scary. I cried every night. I didn't know that people actually live like this, and I'd never imagined myself living like this. They were able to put me in a little apartment on the west side. They paid my security deposit and first month's rent. I said, first things first, I gotta find a job. I don't care where it is, I don't care what I'm doing, I have to find a job. I started working at the Wendy's in German Village. Worked there for a while, saved up as much money as I possibly could, not very much, I'm working at Wendy's. And the apartment was so small, I could throw a rock from the back door and hit the front door with it. But it was okay, it was mine. I ended up getting a job out in Dublin for a call center. Started driving out there, was able to save up more money, working full time now. So with that, I had saved up enough to move out of that house. Fast forward a little bit, I moved into a house in Southfield, which is where I'm currently living now. I was proud of myself, I was happy, I felt like, okay, this is it, we're gonna be okay, everything's gonna be good. And within a month, I realized that I'm still not in the right neighborhood. Hearing gunshots, feeling like my kids couldn't even play outside, really not really liking the other kids in the neighborhood, don't want my children playing with them. So, and then not even liking the school that's the closest to us. The school had a failing grade, it had an F rating, so I didn't want to send my son there. He goes to a charter school, he goes to Grove for Imagine, because I felt like I just wanted to give him at least as good of an opportunity as I could. So living there for a while, I started, trying to make my house into a home. Okay, this is where we are. I'm going to try to at least make the inside of our house as nice as possible. Save up my money, try to decorate really nice, make sure my kids have everything they want, everything they need, just for somebody else in the neighborhood to feel like they want what we have and break into our home. I come home from work, my back door's open, and anything that wasn't mounted down was gone. Game systems, rent money, the money that I had put up for my son's birthday, which was the following week. It was scary. It made me feel like we weren't safe there. I literally, when I go to work, sometimes I'm just like nervous, like, hey, you want to drive around my house just to make sure things are okay? I have security cameras up around my house. It's just, I don't feel comfortable, and I don't like living that way, and I don't feel like anyone should have to live that way. I feel like Prosper is an amazing opportunity. It would be amazing for my kids to not only live in a safer environment, a cleaner environment, somewhere where I feel like they can play and grow and learn, but to also be able to get a better education in a better school district. That would be amazing itself. Having a life coach would do so much for me. I'm working at, I currently work in Westerville. I live in Southfield. I have 2 kids that have to get to daycare. I travel an hour to work every day and an hour home. It would allow me to be closer to my job, be able to spend more time with my children, be able to possibly find a better job in Westerville, maybe a career. A life coach would help me to get with my entrepreneurial goals. I do have dreams and thoughts and ideas of businesses that I would like to start. Don't know where to start or how to get those going. I feel like a life coach will be able to help me with that, get a place to start, possibly get back into school. Rental assistance will be amazing. Like I said, I'm living in a neighborhood that I don't want to live in, but feel like I can barely afford to live there because the government sees that I make too much money to even get my health care covered or to get any type of food stamps or anything like that, but they don't see that I'm paying $800 in rent to live somewhere that I don't want to live, or that I'm paying, full price utilities because I don't qualify for a lot of those things that families that aren't working or people that aren't working or aren't trying to work harder are able to qualify for. We got a $2 raise and they told me that I couldn't even get health insurance anymore. So it feels like a struggle, but I don't want to have to depend on the government. I feel like this program is more than just a handout. It's a hand up. It will allow you to reach your goals and do what you need to do to make your family successful in the long run. And, it's so nice that all of you are here and just, let's make this program happen.
That's amazing, and I'm with Sabri. The coaching aspect is so important, but I think you have a lot to coach all of us. I mean, I think you give a lot to any room you're in. That's amazing. So I think Brianna was absolutely able to articulate that, she would love to work with a coach and set and meet goals. She wants, these aren't all about things for her. It's about what she gives to her children and the infrastructure she builds there. So thank you for sharing your story. Next we have Jeff Corzine. He's the Vice President of Strategic Account Development at United Healthcare Community Plan. He's been an advocate for the program and critical advisor for Move to Prosper as we develop the coaching model. Jeff is going to speak about impact.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking time out of your busy days to spend in here with us to learn a little bit more about this unique opportunity that will positively impact our community. United Healthcare Community Plan is one of 5 health plans that provide health care benefits to 2.8 million people who receive their health care benefits through the Ohio Medicaid program. In my role, I'm often quizzed about why a health and wellness company cares about housing. And here's why. According to the Health Policy Institute of Ohio, only 20% of our health and well-being can be attributed to the direct delivery of clinical care services. The remaining 80% are covered in other aspects. 40% of our health and well-being can be attributed to a person's social and economic environment, 30% to health behaviors, and 10% to a person's physical environment. So, in order for our health plan to be truly successful in helping our members live healthier lives, we have to be able to be impactful in areas not traditionally ascribed to a health and wellness company such as ours. But it's clear from the research done to date that there is an intersection of health and housing that has to be respected and addressed in order to be truly impactful in our communities in a way that's positive and lasting. So here's some additional examples. If you've been watching the screen scroll through, you would see slides that would say, for instance, for children who live in good homes, they are 32% more likely to go to college and earn 31% more in their early adulthood. They will earn $302,000 more in lifetime earnings. And young women who live in high opportunity neighborhoods are 26% less likely to become pregnant in their teen years and 70% less likely to experience extreme anxiety disorders. And not to forget those of us of adult age, for adults who are able to live in high economic communities, they will see 33% fewer instances in major depression, lower rates of extreme obesity and diabetes, and lower rates of parental depression and other stress issues. But housing is a very complex issue, and most of us in the healthcare world, doctors, nurses, care managers, administrators like myself, don't always understand those complexities and feel helpless when we encounter a member with a patient with housing needs. My personal experience was when I was fresh out of graduate school working at a startup health plan deep in Appalachian, Ohio. As you know, if you're in the social service or healthcare world, crises never happen until 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And I got that call at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon from one of our members who was being evicted from an apartment as we spoke. And I had no clue how to help that member. And to this day, I don't know that she ever got help. So fast forward 6 months, give or take 30 years, we've reached a collective realization that addressing factors that intersect with health, safe housing, good food, strong educational opportunities, and access to meaningful employment all impact our health and well-being. We believe this so much at our health plan that we have added a housing navigator and a work navigator to assist our members in finding housing and meaningful employment opportunities. In this way, we're able to lift our communities, one life, one family at a time, which raises the community as a whole by addressing health and social disparities in a meaningful and lasting way that supports self-sufficiency and allows us to begin to look upstream. And look upstream at prevention opportunities to change and improve the lives of our fellow Ohioans. So as we move forward this evening, I invite you to consider your support as we look at how we can impact those who need help most.
Thank you, Jeff. The last speaker we have this evening is Chris Blakely, and she's the newest member of the Move to Prosper Steering Committee and a very active volunteer. She contacted Amy after the Columbus Dispatch story I referenced earlier. It was published in May. And she's the Associate Vice President of Operations and Business Development at Nationwide Financial. Chris?
So as Tiffany mentioned, I work at Nationwide and on the financial services side. And while I have a great passion for working at Nationwide, I also, like many of you, have a passion for finding opportunities for families, especially with children, young children, to have the same type of opportunities, especially early in life, that I had, that I was blessed with when I was growing up. And so before I joined and moved to Prosper, I'd actually spent about 10 years working for another organization here in the community involved in housing, affordable housing. And as part of that organization, I was part of what we called the Family Selection Committee. And our task was to look at families and evaluate them in terms of their ability to get into the program. And so to do that, we did a lot of home visits. So we would drive around town and go to their homes and sit with them and talk about the program. And I know I'm at the end of the program, but if you'll indulge me, I have a really quick little story. So one afternoon, it was a Saturday afternoon, I went out to do a home visit with a single mom. She had 2 young sons. And when I got there, she was putting the youngest one down for a nap. So I had an opportunity to talk with the oldest son. He was about 9 years old, and he was sitting on a Saturday afternoon working away at his homework. And so I went over and I said, hey, what kind of subjects do you like? Are you enjoying school? That sort of thing. And I mean, it was like his face just lit up. He was so excited to talk about how much he loved math and science. And he shared with me that he wanted to be a scientist when he grew up. And so, it was just like a transformation. He was working away and then he just lights up. And so when his mom came down, part of the program was to talk about the community, talk about the schools. And so I asked her, how are things going with school? And she said, well, part of the problem they were running into is he was so bright, so exceptional. The teacher had already given him all the work she could give him. And they didn't have another program. So there really wasn't much else, that he could do to sort of keep the enrichment going of his education. And then she shared that, in that community, he was really being bullied, too, because kind of a bookwormish kid, and he liked all the things that weren't really cool for a 9-year-old to like, in that community and at that age. And so, it just got me thinking, and I think back on him quite often, and I think about the opportunities that we could give kids, in a different environment, put a different community environment around them. And it's not to say that, we've all known children who can rise up from the less than ideal circumstances and achieve great things. You hear these stories all the time. But I don't know that that's the norm. And so I think about, our opportunities kind of remove barriers for kids and help them to achieve even greater things. And so thanks for listening to my story, but I'll get back to the reason we're here tonight. And I'll share a couple statistics. So first statistic is that we've already raised 100% of the funding we need for the housing subsidy side of the program. So that's wonderful. We'd love to, be able to stop there and get started with the program, but there's the other side. The other side you've heard so much about with the coaching. We're only at 35% of the money that we need to raise to start that part of the program. And so that's what our ask of you is tonight, if you are able to think of a gift to the program. And I'll give you some numbers. So $5,000 gift would help a family to get through the first year of the program. So that's basically what it costs us for the coaching, for 1 year of coaching. If you are able to do a 3-year gift, a pledge of 3 years, so $5,000 each year, that takes the family through the entirety of the 3-year pilot. So again, we have a form that you were given, sorry, in an envelope. Thank you. Trying to manage the microphone and paper. Deanna, can you help me? So on the form, you'll see on the front side, there's actually some options here for sponsorship levels if you're interested. If you turn to the back of the form, there's a couple things that are important here. So if you use this form, all the information's already on it in terms of Move to Prosper and the fund number through Ohio State University. So if you just were to say send a check in to Ohio State University Foundation, it'll go into the main fund. But you need to actually reference this fund number for it to go to Move to Prosper. So that's one part of it that's very important. You can always leave this here with us tonight if you're in that position to do that, or the envelope that you've been given is already addressed to go to the right location in terms of funding. And so, what this funding is going to do for us is to really help families like Brianna's to get that coaching and to get it started in the program. We'd like to start this in January. Like Brianna talked about, she doesn't have a safety net. Maybe many of us can call our families and get help, even in just advice, financial or advice, and a lot of families don't have that. They're doing all this on their own. And I think about, just like, I think of Sabri talked about how many people helped you along the way. I still constantly, I call my mom every single day for advice. And I'm lucky I have that opportunity, right? But not everybody has that safety net. So, like I said, you can either leave this with us tonight, send that in, but the sooner that we know if you're able to make a gift, the sooner we'll know when we can get started with the program. So just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you tonight. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing us to let families have opportunities to move up the ladder of opportunity in our community.
That concludes our program. We invite you to stick around, network, enjoy fellowship. This is the whole. I think we were very clear when we invited you tonight to come in for cocktails. And for anybody who doesn't know Amy Cleveland, she is the lovely lady here in the green jacket. If she has not asked you to coffee, she will. And you should say yes. You will be smarter when you leave. You'll be a better person when you leave. She's doing a lot to help our community. Thank you. Again, have a good evening.